everyone, welcome back to the shop. I can't tell you what day it is. I lost track because I ran into a little bit of a problem. I'll explain. But it's a lovely day here. Looks like we might get some late afternoon rain. Anyhow, my problem: inserting the Hambini bottom bracket into the R11 frame. Now, one thing the doctor advised before I put this in the frame is to have a shop create what's called a GoNoGo. And this device checks the opening of the bottom bracket shell. One side is 40.95 millimeters and the other side is 41. Now the 40.95 should go in that opening, and it should go in, as it turns out, more than what it did for me. Like, I got it to go in, it just bit in. But not knowing any better, I figured, well, if it goes in, it goes in, so the bottom bracket will go in. But that's not the case. And I sent Mr. Hambini an email asking him, well, what do you think about that? And I had that photo attached to it, you know, it'll hold in there. Now that's the go side. The no-go side is there, it won't, you know, well, look, kind of the bottom bracket is a little bit fussed with, and I'll explain why. Anyway, one side will go in, the other side won't. But the side that goes in, as it turns out, should go in a lot. And I didn't know that. But I did send Mr. Hambini a message and asked him about it. And I didn't hear back from him for a couple days. I guess he was busy. He's got a life. But he did reply, as he always does. And it was a quick response. He goes, no, George, it should go in pretty much all the way. Looks like it could do with a bit of a wiffle, in his words. A bit of a wiffle means a little bit of boring this opening a little bit. And he's got two ways of doing it. On his website, he shows one way, which involves taking a flap wheel, putting a hose clamp around it, tightening it down so it's smaller than the opening, putting the flap wheel in there, getting the clamp off so it now expands open, and then attaching your drill to it. And that's a pretty rough bit of sanding eventually, essentially. And it only takes about 10 seconds, bzz, 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 and it's done. And it's done enough so that that thing will go in. Anyway, his bottom brackets are really precisely machined to one-piece thing, so that makes it a little bit different putting it in. The whole thing has to go all the way through there. And this edge here has to sit flush with the exposed carbon edge of the bottom bracket shell. And I mean flush. He advises getting a feeler gauge and putting it in there. Well, a couple of days went by before I got his message, and not knowing any better, I mean, this is completely my screw up. I proceeded to insert the bottom bracket, and it actually went in quite smartly. Not so much of a problem at all. But by the time I got his message, it was in there. And it went in pretty easy, so I figured I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. I did, and I got it to the point where that edge of that shell was within half a millimeter. But half a millimeter won't cut it. It's got to go in there all the way, so this edge is flush with that edge. So that was my holdup, and that's been about a week ago. So I got back in touch with Doctor, and I said, okay, I got your message a little bit late, and I pressed on with the project. And it's at this point it won't go anymore. He says, well, you're going to have to get it out. So I'll send you drawings for a tool to get it out. Now, one of the problems I had fitting it was this thing is the receiving end, goes on the non-drive side, and this one here fits into the bottom bracket. You take that Delrin cover off, and this fits right down in on top of the bearing, so it's pressing on the bearing. And then you just use your bottom bracket press, which I made this thing. Tighten it on in there. Yeah, well, I got to that point where it stopped and wouldn't come out, so he sent me drawings for some new tools. Now, part of the problem, as I was about to say, and digress, was this receiving end that goes on the non-drive side. It would be right there. Bottom bracket would be there, and this piece there. And that thing, you just tighten the nuts and it presses it together. And this has a, a concavity here, so that the edge of this will come flush with the other edge of the bottom bracket bore opening. Well, that didn't happen. So he created a new tool, and you can see the difference. The edge of this is a whole lot beefier than that. And this is the removal tool. Now, basically, the process is you're pressing it in reverse. So this piece now fits on the non-drive side. Take that Delrin cover off, and it has to press directly on the bearing. That piece goes in the non-drive side bearing opening. This piece goes over here, and that whole bottom bracket is small enough so it'll go all the way down in that receiving piece. Although it's tight fit, but it does go in there. So I got that today. I had a shop locally create tools for me, according to Mr. Hambini's drawings. The guy's right on. There's no reflection on him at all. This is completely a matter of me being kind of do-it-yourself and learning on the job, which, if I screw it up, I screw it up. I'll buy another and fix it, whatever. Anyway, this piece here is double the thickness of the edge of that piece. So when I use this now as my install tool, that's going to sit really nice on the edge of my bottom bracket. And you see, I damaged the paint fussing with that other one, because every time I tightened it, the thing slid. And this bottom bracket, it curves right on away immediately. So that black Delrin piece that was the original tool sent with the bottom bracket kept sliding. So I fucked this up pretty good, and I'm not proud of that, but this is why they have paint shops. They'll fix it. So the project today is put the bottom bracket in and do it right, and that's what I'm about to do. So as the bottom bracket press, those will go there, that'll go there. I'm going to use that piece. I'm going to use this piece to receive it. Anyway, that's the project. We'll see how that goes. The privacy wall here needs some attention, doesn't it? Well, I'm not going to attend to it. It'll fall down eventually, I guess, but it's not my wall. But I do have to look at it. I'm kind of used to it, so I don't mind. But the nickname for this place is the Ruins. It's not that bad. It's actually pretty nice, except for that wall.